Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thought for Thursday. I hope that everyone has had a great week. Hold on one second. Looks like my computer may be trying to die on me here. We don't want that, that's for sure. I apologize. Anyway, there's always something, right? I hope you guys have had a great week. I'm excited to be here with you this evening on the last day of February. Can you believe? I can't believe that we are here. I'm very surprised. Well, not surprised, but I'm very surprised by how quickly February went. We know that it's a short month. And we got an extra day. How about that? We got an extra day in February, and it still seems to have gone by really quickly for me. But at any rate, spring is upon us, and that is really what prompted me to go with the theme that I went with today, with spring being almost here, and it's almost time for beauty to start blossoming through all of the cold and snow and rain and dampness that we've had. It is time for some of those flowers to start peeking out, right? Some of that foliage to start peeking out, and it's time to plant things even. This is when we really start focusing on, if you haven't finished some of the fall cleanup, making sure you get that done, and then making sure that you're set for the beauty that accompanies the warm climate that comes our way in the spring and the summer. So I decided to kind of use an analogy now, all right, to draw on a rich metaphor of kind of the spring and the gardening to kind of outline a pathway for personal and professional development. You know, spring is a season, like I said, of renewal and growth, and it really does kind of offer a really nice backdrop to talk about nurturing our gardens. Yeah, our gardens of self improvement and career advancement. So, what I wanted to talk to you about tonight, and I asked you, what are you doing to tend to your garden? And exactly, I also reminded you that it is gardening time, right? So, what are you doing? What are some things that you can do during this season to really prime your garden, make your garden beautiful so that you can enjoy the beauty of what you have sown and what has been the result of you sowing and cultivating it? So, what are some things that you want to do? And forgive me because I didn't put our hints in here ahead of time. I'll try and pop them in now. But one of the things that you really want to do if you're tending to your garden and you're preparing for spring, one of the things that you want to do is start by assessing what state your current garden is in. What currently is your garden? What state is it in? Are there things that need to be cleaned up? Are there things that you need to plant? Kind of do a survey and find out exactly what it is that you need to do. Take stock of where you currently stand in your personal and your professional journey, and then identify those areas that have really flourished, what has gone really well, what is really blooming or starting to bloom or prepped for a great bloom. And then look at those things that need some more attention. This is the time to give it that attention. And the assessment really does kind of involve, a candid look at your strengths. What are your strengths? What are the areas for improvement? And what are the goals that you've set? This is all what you want to look at when you're assessing the current state of your garden. All right. So that's where we're going to start. Just figure out where you are. And in order to move forward, of course, you've got to know where you are and what needs to be done. This is also the time to not beat up on yourself if you're not where you want to be. Acknowledge where you are. Look for the progress that you've made and go ahead and pat yourself on the back for that. And then tell yourself, you know what? There's more that I need to do. And I'm going to pursue that treatment that I need to give this garden in order for it to be resilient, and in order for it to reach the capacity, live and bloom to the capacity that I know that I really want it to bloom to. All right. So, what is something else that you're going to need to do? And I'll plop that in here real quick. As with everything else, and I already talked about it a little bit when I said, maybe you haven't totally cleaned up where you are from the fall, you need to make sure that you clear out the weeds. Yeah, we all have them. You could have those extra leaves that are still lingering, and the leaves are going to really kind of dig down into your soil and really stymie the grass. The grass won't grow, and definitely any of your plants aren't going to grow if you've got that weed covering over it. Now it's a little different if you kind of turn it into some mulch and some fertilizer, but if you're anything like me, you just have some leaves that you didn't finish getting up because we have a ton of trees and a ton of leaves. And we've already taken tons of, yeah, but I'll stop because I'm going in the wrong direction. However, you make sure that you figure out exactly what it is that you need to do. Now, what are weeds in your case when you're talking about personal and professional development for this analogy that I'm giving you here? Weeds could be anything like, negative self talk. I already said, don't beat up yourself for the things that you haven't already put in place in your garden. Know that this is time for growth and this is the opportunity to go ahead and get things going. It could be things like I said, negative self talk, relationships that either need to be improved, or let's face it, sometimes there are relationships that we really need to kind of move away from in order for our garden to grow in the way that we really want it to grow. There are unproductive habits. That's another weed that we need to make sure that we take care of. Anything that is not causing us or helping us to produce what it is that we want to produce, that can be seen as one of those pesky weeds that we really need to eradicate. So you're going to need to dedicate some time to identify and remove those barriers, because that's what they are. We're calling them weeds, but these things are barriers to your growth. And you're going to be able to create a healthier environment once you get rid of those barriers, a healthy environment that really is going to allow what you're trying to harvest, what you've planted to grow. All right. So, what else are we talking about here? In addition to clearing out those weeds, you want to make sure that you are enriching the soil. You're going to have to put something down there. And people go back and forth as to whether you want something that's eco-friendly. Some of us use things that may not be so eco-friendly. Whatever it is, you need something that's going to help the soil to be fertile. So fertile soil provides all that's necessary, all the nutrients that are really needed for your plants to grow strong and be healthy. And in the context of personal development, enriching your soil means things like investing in yourself. That's the bottom line. That's how you want to enrich your soil. This can involve pursuing educational opportunities that are out there. You may want to go back and take a class in something. You may want to become a part of a group, a focus group that focuses in on something. It could be an investment class, even if you're talking about getting financially healthy. It could be exercise or learning more about how you combine foods to get the nutrients that you need and to be a healthier you. And as Dr. Michelle told us during Exodus, use your food as a medicine. It could be any number of things that you're doing to enrich yourself and better yourself, either personally, I should say, and or, personally and professionally. So things that you want to do. Cultivating a supportive community around you is something else that you can do also to enrich your soil. And that's encouraging for you. and it's going to help to sustain your growth. All right, so moving right along, we've talked about a few things now. We've talked about the fact that we needed to remove the weeds and enrich the soil and assess exactly where we are. So, what else is it that we want to do when we are tending to this garden, making sure that it's doing and getting prepped to give us what it is that we want and what we need? Well, we're going to plant seeds. We've prepared the ground, right? We figured out exactly where we are in the whole process, what this thing looks like. We've gone ahead and we've taken out our weeds, getting rid of those negative ideas, those negative thoughts, all those things that are holding us back. We've gone in and we've fertilized. We figured out what it is that we need to do in order to grow. What do we need to do for that personal development? What is it that we need to do for our professional development? And now we're at the point where we're planting. Our ground is prepared. It's time to plant our new seeds, period, the end. And what do seeds look like? Our seeds are our goals and the projects that we really want to bring to life. We've already prepared our platform, prepared our surface for it. Now let's go ahead and plant those things. Be intentional about what it is that you're choosing to cultivate. Some things that you want to consider. You want to consider what aligns with your values and your passions and the vision that you have for your future. And the seeds really represent the new skills that you want to acquire and the relationships that you want to build. We talked a little bit already about how you may need to restructure some of your relationships, reevaluate if they're really profiting you or not, if you need to change them, if perhaps you need to put some distance between them. That's a part too of planting your seeds. And the C's really do represent kind of the new skills, all right? The new skills that you want to acquire. And again, the relationships that you want to build and the professional milestones. That's something else if we're talking professional development. The professional milestones that you really want to achieve, all right? So we're doing pretty good with this garden. We've cleaned things out, figured out where we are. We have determined, what needs to be cleaned up in our train of thought and how we approach things and what we think of ourselves and what we're doing. We figured out already what it is that we need to enrich the ground that we're using for our gardens of personal and professional development. We figured that out, whether they be classes or education habits that we need to change around and make different in order that we will do better. We've talked about all of those things. So we've got everything planned. We've got our goals and our vision set. We've got the personal and professional milestones in there. We've got everything. So what do we want to do to make sure that these things are all going to lead to the beautiful garden that we want? Well, one thing that you have to do once you get everything in the ground is you have to water it and you have to protect it. Yeah. So that's our next step here. Consistent effort and care, of course, are crucial for your garden. Any garden in the real context of what a green garden looks like. They're crucial in order for that garden to thrive. So watering your garden really kind of symbolizes the daily actions and decisions that you contribute or that do contribute to your growth. This might mean, setting aside some time for self-reflection. It definitely means consistently working towards your goals and staying resilient when those challenges crop up. So that means you find ways to deal with the challenges. You deal with the mental piece of what a challenge brings on to you. You deal with the physical piece of what a challenge brings to you. So protecting your garden means all of those things. It also means setting healthy boundaries. You've planted some things that you really want to grow. If you're like me, there are days when I feel like I just live in the forest. I have every animal possible visiting my backyard. And 9 out of 10, they like to eat what I've planted. So we had to come up with different techniques to kind of fool them. Some have worked really well, and honestly, many of them just have not worked at all. They have really kind of conditioned us to what we can plant. And what we had to do was even put up fences or put up something that was environmentally, friendly, that would kind of steer them away from the plants so that they could even get out of the ground. Think about that in your life, the things that you're trying to plant. And if you don't put barriers up for them, in many instances, they won't even get up out of the ground. And that's what we see in our garden. We'll go out and a rabbit or a deer or whatever has decided to visit us the night before will have eaten things before they even really start to grow. So it's very important for you to make sure that you protect what it is that you've planted in your garden that you want to grow professionally and personally. Make sure that that's in place. Set up the boundaries, safeguarding your mental and emotional well-being. That is also a huge part of making sure that you're protecting your garden. All right. All right. So we've gone through a number of things already. We've talked about clearing the garden, assessing where it is, where you are, clearing your garden. We talked about prepping the soil, making sure that, everything's cleared out. We talked about planting those seeds. We talked about watering and the importance of making sure that things are watered so that they can actually grow. We talked about the importance of making sure that you have set some barriers up so that you can protect all that it is that you've planted and that you want to see harvest. And the last thing that I want to tell you that you need to do is be patient and be persistent. Yeah. Things don't just sprout up overnight. There are some things that don't take very long to sprout up after you plant them, but 9 out of 10, it's going to take a little bit of time. So understand that growth takes time. Be patient with yourself. In your patience, don't grow weary. Don't grow weary. Scripture tells us don't go weary in our well doing. Continue to do well. Be persistent. Determine that what you want, those things that you've sown, those things that you so desire, the things that you want to grow professionally and personally are worth the wait. Continue to take care of your garden in the way that we've outlined tonight and be patient as it grows so that once it reaches where you want it to be, you can enjoy the garden. You can feast in the beauty of it and be happy that you cultivated things in the way that you did so that you got the results that you're getting. All right. So that's it. That's everything. I hope that you guys found this incredibly, well, at least a little helpful. I'm incredibly happy to bring it to you. So go out now as we end and make sure that you do an assessment of your garden and then get to working on preparing it to harvest the things that you desire for it to harvest during the season of beauty and splendor, when the sun comes and brings out all of the beauty that the earth can foster during the warm months. We have seasons. There's a season for everything. And yes, there is a season when things don't grow as well as they do in other seasons. And this is a prime season for growing. So I challenge you to go out and look at your garden and get it prepared for you to grow in the way that you desire to grow. All right. That's it. Have a wonderful evening. Have a great weekend. Go out, be confident in who you are. Know that who you are, just as you are good. You are enough. You have a thumbprint that is so, so needed. Your imprint is needed to make a change for yourself, for someone else. Go out and touch something, make a difference, change things for you. Excuse me. and change things for the better for a number of people that you touch and you come in contact with. All right? That's it. You guys have a great evening. Bye bye.